thank you. Hiya, Hetty. Where is everybody going, Ilka? Okay, you'll be back, huh? Because the next generation has got to, hear all of this. It's the grandparents out there. Okay, all right, okay, great. Have a good time. See you, Luigi. Who's paying for the ice cream anyway? Oh, never mind. You are? All right. Whoa, okay. Oh, we got to hit the band up here. Ernie, where are you? We're gonna today the musical interludes or preludes or just the ludes are gonna come at you from Bear 54. Hey, Billy, how are you? This is an Arthur Russell band. I hope you know Arthur's compositions. They're just marvelous. He died too soon. But Arthur lived down the hallway from Alan, and although their aesthetics were quite divergent, their sensibilities were similar, and their friendship was really real. This is an ode to creativity with Bear 54, Arthur Russell at Allen Ginsberg's birthday.
Should I use this one? Okay. Well, actually, take this moment to announce the demise of Bear 54 and the arrival of Cargo Skirt.
Cargo Skirt
in line with the spring fashion line proposed by Peter. And also
Cargo Tux coming next.
Well, we're not exactly an Arthur Russell band, though. We did work with Arthur, and we also worked with Alan, because Alan and Arthur went way back. Many, many years. And he used to perform with a group called the Flying Hearts that we had. And the story, I'll tell it again because it's a good story. Arthur had his electricity turned off at 437 East 12th Street because, he was a musician. He didn't have enough money to pay the electricity. So he ran a power cord out his window into Alan's apartment, which is 2 floors down. And I think it was at least there for 8 or 9 years. And that's the kind of guy Alan was. So this is a song of Arthur's called Don't It Make Me Sad Another Day. Spoke to someone on the fence in a pleasant mood. Days or days and nights or nights in the summer wood. My eyes were red with fire and looking at the sun. Looking at the Don't make me sad another day. Don't make me sad another day. Don't make me sad another day. Like you. Down the concrete ramp in the big city, gone to face the spiky dawn in the big city. And then I turn right back to you to see your face. To see your Don't make me sad another. It don't make me sad another day. Make me sad another day, like you. Na na na, na 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 na.
You're looking good, alright, in the door you came. They stared at you all night, and I was just the same. And when the music stops, I'll tell you who I love. It don't make me sad another day. It don't make me sad another day. It don't make me sad another day. Like you. Na na na. Na 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 na. Na na na. Na 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 na. Na na na. Na 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 na.
So, the poets. Now it's poets.
So today we're going to have the gang of poets that will be celebrating Alan by reading Alan's work and their own work. That's the way you do it, right? So I'll start off with a poem from White Shroud, one of my faves. I worked with Alan on this, making a video out of it. It's called In My Kitchen in New York. And what you'll hear is Alan doing his Tai Chi exercise, right? And all of the poses he names, but as he's doing it, his inner monologue is what there is around his apartment there at 437 that needs doing while he should have his mind on his Tai Chi exercise, okay? Not to give away the punchline. In my kitchen in New York, bend knees, shift weight, Picasso's blue death head self-portrait tacked on refrigerator door. This is the only space in the apartment big enough to do Tai Chi. Straighten right foot and rise. I wonder if I should have set aside that garbage pail. Raise up my hands and bring them back to shoulders. The towels and pajama laundry's hanging on a rope in the hall. Push down and grasp the sparrow's tail. Those paper boxes of grocery bags are blocking the closed door. Turn north. I should hang up all those pots on the stovetop. Am I holding the world right? That Hopi picture on the wall shows rain and lightning bolt. Turn right again. Through the door, God, my office space. A mess of pictures and unanswered letters. Left on my hips, thank God Arthur Rimbaud's watching me from over the sink. Single whip, pianos in the room. Well, Stephen and Maria finally will move to their own apartment next week. His pants are still here, and Julius in his bed. This gesture's the opposite of St. Francis in Ecstasy by Bellini. Hands down for me. I better concentrate on what I'm doing. What am I doing? Weight in belly, move from hips. No, that was the single whip. That apron's hanging on the north wall a year. I haven't used it once, except to wipe my hands. The crane spreads its wings. Have I paid the electric bill? Playing the guitar. Do I have enough money to leave the rent paid while I'm in China? Brushed knee, that was good halva, pounded sesame seed in the icebox a week. Withdraw and push. I should get a loft or giant living room. The land speculators bought up all the square feet in Manhattan, beginning with the Indians. Cross hands. I should write a letter to the Times saying it's unethical. Come to rest, hands down, knees straight. I wonder how my liver's doing. Okay, I guess, tonight. I quit smoking last week. I wonder if they'll blow up an H-bomb. Probably not. Allen Ginsberg, In My Kitchen in New York. I see Bob Rosenthal is here, and I know he knows that apartment. And of course, the horrible irony was that when Alan finally got to a place where he could do Tai Chi without bumping into the bathtub, it was near the end, you know? It's a sad and wondrous story. Endless eternity. Exhilarated, he had lots of time. Bob is going to be reading from his new book, Straight Around Alan, when he gets up here. Alan's secretary for so many years. I'm going to close with a poem of mine called We Are the Dinosaur, which we are, in case you haven't. Look around at you dinosaurs here. Blast open the gates to kingdom come. Whoops, what happened to everyone? I planted a seed, it grew into a gun. Dum, da dum, 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 dum. Life is a riot living in a cartoon. Ice age in a dumpster, that's our living room. Set fire to your roof, get a better view. Global warming's a warning. Toodaloo, we are the dinosaur. Our cell phones go off at the door. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for. Come on, follow the dinosaur. Ho, 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 Homo sapiens, will you answer your phones? You ain't so smart. No, kamikaze friend. Which way is the ark? The whole world's dialing 911. The don't walk sign just changed to you better run. What we've been waiting for has long since come. Dum, da dum, 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 dum. Cross the scorching sands with my big fat feet. It's hard becoming diesel fuel with nothing to eat. Better catch us quick. We're out of here. We are pre-winged birds and tend to disappear. Hurry disappearing back into the past. Did you really think the future was gonna last? It's ending with a bang, so let's have a blast. Tonight we're dining cannibal. It makes such a nice contrast. Chauffeured ambulances race into the prom. Santa, please bring me a neutron bomb. Recycle the planet before the earth is a grave. Excuse me, I gotta get back to my cave. We are the dinosaur. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for. Come on, everybody. Follow the dinosaur! Okay. Hi, Stephen. Just a beautiful picture. Thank you. Yeah, I can see you're ready for action at this crowd. Woo-hoo! Well, let's keep the applause going for Maggie Debris, who's up here next. Celebrate Allen Ginsberg. If you really get overpowered with the sound, just put your hands up to your ears. Sammy and I are working this thing out together. Maggie Debris.
So I'm going to read a poem by Allen Ginsberg that I actually hadn't seen before, that it didn't seem like his usual work to me, but I just loved it. Now, it's called A Desolation. Now, mind is clear as a cloudless sky. Time, then, to make a home in the wilderness. What have I done but wander with my eyes in the trees? So I will build, wife, family, and seek for neighbors. Or I perish of lonesomeness, or want of food, or lightning, or the bear. Must tame the heart and wear the bear. And maybe make an image of my wandering, a little image shrine by the roadside to signify to traveler that I live here in the wilderness, awake and at home. So I'm going to read one poem from a book I have coming out in the fall called Broke Down Palace. And it's drawn mainly from my time as a 911 paramedic in the 80s and 90s. 1981. I was taking an old man to Lenox Hill Hospital on the Upper East Side. He was a doctor, one of the team that invented the vaccine for diphtheria. You've never seen a case. You're lucky, he said. I spent my internship on an ambulance, going from building to building, intubating babies. His eyes went dry, seeing those days again, the terror of the families, children dying with no way to stop it. I've been reading a lot about the past for this book. Now, I know that diphtheria was called the Strangler and infected 100,000 people a year. But that afternoon, bouncing in the back of my ambulance with the trembling, paper-skinned man who conquered it, diphtheria was just a name in a vaccine I'd been given as a child. Like smallpox and polio, those times were over, olden times. Nothing like that was ever going to happen to us. Ni ife la ala, dragosta fera frontiere. Fueled by chemicals, music, and long-haired men, it was freedom. Who would ever want to cork that genie back up? Now I think of those years and wonder, was I blind? Or were things just lit differently? Walking into a hot Michigan summer, guitars cutting into my brain, smells of a faraway continent floating from an open window, Indian shirt soft against my skin, dirt soft on my bare feet, and from a stage in the park, a battle call for revolution. One pill and the universe shattered. One day, and I was in another city, walking down another road, into all I ever wanted. You see, the roads were like spokes in a wheel, turning, turning, and they all led to the same plague. Step by step, colony by colony. War, plunder, war, hunger, an explosion of babies, shut down desire. Shake it up till it explodes. All roads. World War I plucked the men from a generation and threw them into the ground. I wish I'd asked my grandparents what it was like, but back then, the past was so obvious to me, before I knew what my past was going to be.
Thank you, Maggie Debris. Our next poet, identified as the spirit of the Lower East Side, please welcome Hetty Jones.
I never read this poem before. It was new to me, and I never knew that Alan had ever written a poem about driving. So I got very excited. Ooh. It's called After Dead Souls. Where, oh America, are you going in your glorious automobile? Careening down the highway toward what crash in the deep canyon of the Western Rockies? Or racing the sunset over Golden Gate toward what wild city? Jumping with jazz on the Pacific Ocean. That was written in spring 1951. He was a child then. So I decided, just in his honor, I liked Alan very much. We had the most wonderful interchange one time when we were sort of sitting, we were at a party and we were sitting all cuddled up together, because he was nice and warm. And he said to me, have I ever told you this story? No. He said, you know, we've never made it. That's true. Anyway, this is called Paleface. I am driving down the Connecticut Turnpike in a 13-year-old car whose name is Geronimo. An Apache chieftain born 1829, died 1909, 44 years before the start of the car, which goes valiantly down the Connecticut Turnpike, land of the Pequot, not the Apache, but stalwart and brave, as the children in the back seat are stalwart and brave and young. Their eyes are black, their eyes are beautiful. Their eyes are glittering with the anger of at least 4 traceable generations, and they will not allow it to happen to anybody else. Oh, my children are so beautiful and stern on the Connecticut Turnpike. They have caught my heart in a net of silk strings that sways in the center of my body, even as they did once. And the heat of it, my heart swinging at 60 miles an hour. Geronimo, Geronimo, take me home and contain me, or let me flourish in the eyes of my children. Let this speed go out of me into their soft arms. Let me rest. I am tired of the Connecticut Turnpike, of Indians who fought so valiantly but did not win. Let it be quiet. It's too hard to get anything done with all this swinging and banging. Geronimo, the Apache, the eyes of my children. There's no end but surrender, and I cannot surrender. It's not right to die on any man's reservation. Oh, Chief of the Chiricahua, Terror of Arizona, 1882, on the Connecticut Turnpike in the land of the Pequot, 1966. Thank you.
The one and only Hetty Jones. And now we get the band back up here, Ernie. We ready for that? Just to say that as the band gets set up, if you like the Holy Communion film, if you want more historical reference, you should head over to IFC to see the Barbara Rubin documentary that's playing there now. Really kind of astonishing. And hearing about Hetty's makeout session with Alan, or not, sort of reminded me of what went on with Barbara and Alan. You got to go see the movie. Barbara Rubin with Allen Ginsberg, not Barbara Allen.
It's a song.
I had a little exchange with Alan in 1992 when we were singing the same rally for Jerry Brown. He was reading, and I was with Joey Ramone's group, The Resistance. And I said, wow, you know, that was a wonderful, he had just gotten down and read something that made my soul, sent me, and he said, well, you know, words are just the shadows of thought and feeling. And then I started thinking of those Hebrew letters that look like flames. And I think this song by Arthur Russell that we're just doing right now reminds me of the shadow flames between heart and mind. It's a boy, he's got music in his head. I want to go find his favorite thing. He finds it in the air. He'll be alone, alone on the day when he's looking for me. He'll be alone, he'll find it at the last minute when all he's got left is his favorite tune. It's a boy, he's got music in his head. I want to go find his favorite thing. He finds it in the air. He'll take me to every place where we were alone. And then he'll know just who this was that I love him. And he'll know who is his new friend. It's a boy. He's got it in his head. Why do I love him? Why do I love him? got music in his head. I want to go find his favorite thing. He finds it in the air. He'll be alone, alone on the day when he's looking for me. He'll be alone, he'll find it at the last minute when all he's got left is his favorite tune. It's a boy. Why do I love him? It's a boy.
Another song.
Let's hear it for Cargo Skirt, formerly Bear 54. Yeah. So Bob Rosenthal is coming up here now, marvelous poet, and his new book, Straight Around Alan, tells it like it's never been told before. Here he is, Bob Rosenthal.
Sam here somewhere, where he's sent out some suggested readings, and I think they're all from, I don't even know where they're from. I think they're from a book of uncollected poems. And it's interesting because Alan was always accused of writing too much. And then they published all of his poems, and then they're willing to publish all of his unpublished poems. So that's interesting. I guess you can't have it both ways. But it was lucky that I wasn't aware of this poem that Sam sent, and I wanted to also talk about Lawrence Ferlinghetti today, and it works out just fine. This is a poem written in 1994 in April. I think it was just after San Francisco named a street after Lawrence. They named it Via Ferlinghetti. City Light City. On Via Ferlinghetti and Kerouac Alley, young heroes muse melancholy 2025 AD. Musicians brood and pace Bob Kaufman Street and practice future jazz on Rexroth Place. Spiritual novelists sit wrapped in contemplation under the street sign at Soroyan Place before they cross Aram Alley. Lovers' eyes gaze sparkling on the bay waters from McClure Plaza at the foot of Market, Old Market itself as Robert Duncan Boulevard, teems with theosophic shops and hermetic department stores. And crossing Duncan Boulevard, first De Prima, second Henry Miller, third Corso Street, fourth Jeffers Street, and fifth on John Wiener Street, the Greyhound Terminal stands. Surrounded by bookstore galleries, publishers' rows, and artists' lofts, sightseers and tourist buses breathe the fresh, foggy air on Harold North and Hirschman Peaks. Oldies but goldies. Ken Kesey's name makes Bayshore famous as you barrel up past Brother Everson's Memorial Stadium. Wayland Bridge sits meditating all the way to Oakland. Snyder Bridge connects the east-west gate between San Francisco and Marin. Commuters crowd exhausted into the Neil Cassidy Railroad Station on Corso. Creshaw-Miwash Street signs shine bright on Van Ness. Poet Jack Micheline gets Tenderloin. Philip Lamantia Towers crown Telegraph Hill, where international surrealist tourists climb to see the view. And I'll take Alcatraz to return to Native Americans with Treasure Island. You know, it's an exercise. It was nice. Okay. But the exercise sort of reminds me of Lawrence's and Alan's relationship. It was edgy, formal. Lawrence and Alan are friends. Lawrence, 7 years Alan's senior, is in his centenary, and Alan is gone over 20 years. They are loyal comrades, and they are also totally competitive. A Coney Island of the Mind has sold more copies than Howl, yet publishing Howl makes City Lights books exist. Alan lives on his yearly royalties from City Lights, and Lawrence publishes a huge array of poets who otherwise might not see publication. Off the profits of Howl. The pocket poets' books are ingeniously designed to make poetry portable in coat pockets on all continents. When Alan signs on with HarperCollins, he insists that City Lights be allowed to continue publishing the Ginsberg titles. Lawrence thinks of Alan as sometimes a pain in the ass that forces a poet or two on him. And Alan sometimes calls Lawrence a businessman, but they do not fight openly. Alan always calls Lawrence Larry. Lawrence hates it. I once call him Larry and am quickly corrected. Lawrence often signs his letters to Alan, Daddy. When Lawrence visits New York, he stays on East 12th Street. He buys items for Alan's impoverished apartment, a new bathtub plug, a new strainer for the kitchen sink. They are old world rivals who love each other and never call just to talk. Alan rings Lawrence just before dying to share the news. These two poets of a shared common tongue together create an unparalleled universe of poetic imagination and societal accomplishment. That's to celebrate the centenary of Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And I'm going to read a little bit from my, it took me a long time to get it, to be able, I promised Alan I would write this book, and I promised I'd try to make it funny.
Good afternoon. So happy to be here. Many, many happy returns and returns and returns to Allen Ginsberg. I miss him more than ever as the days grind on in our world dystopia. So first I'm going to read a poem of Allen's entitled Homework. It's an homage to Kenneth Koch. And then something of my own, Questions for Citizens. And then Stephen Taylor will join with one of his own singing of one of Allen's texts and songs, and we'll do something together. Homework. If I were doing my laundry, I'd wash my dirty Iran. I'd throw in my United States and pour on the ivory soap. Scrub up Africa, put all the birds and elephants back in the jungle. I'd wash the Amazon River and clean the only oily Carib and Gulf of Mexico. Rub that smog off the North Pole. Wipe up all the pipelines in Alaska. Rub-a-dub-dub for Rocky Flats and Los Alamos. Flush that sparkly cesium out of Love Canal. Rinse down the acid rain over the Parthenon and Sphinx. Drain sludge out of the Mediterranean basin and make it azure again. Put some bluing back into the sky over the Rhine. Bleach the little clouds so snow return white as snow. Cleanse the Hudson, Thames, and Neckar. Drain the suds out of Lake Erie. Then I'd throw Big Asia in one giant load and wash out the blood and Agent Orange. Dump the whole mess of Russia and China in the ringer. Squeeze out the tattletale gray of U.S. Central American police state. And put the planet in the dryer and let it sit 20 minutes or an eon till it came out clean. Allen Ginsberg. 1980. And this is called Questions for Citizens. This was a little project with Amiel Alkali. And I wish Alan were here for his own versions. And I inspire you to write your own questions for citizens. When was the Federal Reserve created and by whom? Who was second in command to Jefferson Davis and considered the brains of the Confederacy? What was the primary material factor in British sea domination? What was Ezra Pound right about? How many things don't make sense about the Bering Straits theory of migration? What might that mean? Who are the contenders for explanations of dark matter? Who funded the Confederacy and why? Do you accept the premises of the Warren Commission? Do you accept the findings of the Warren Commission? Who assassinated Ghassan Kanafani? Where did that assassination take place? Who was Ghassan Kanafani? What was Dewey Canyon 3? Why did the Confederacy have to import hay from north of the Mason-Dixon line? Who assassinated Naji al-Ali? Where did this take place? Who was Naji al-Ali? What happened in Bengal during World War II? And what does the term false flag mean? Please identify at least two. Do you think buildings came down on 9/11 because airplanes hit them? Do you accept the findings of the 9/11 Warren Commission? Do you commission report? Do you think elements of the U.S. government capable of controlled demolition of buildings on 9/11 or on other days? Why did U.S. and Kurdish forces provide cover for up to 4,000 people associated with ISIS leaving Raqqa, including fighters and weapons? Do you think people employed by the U.S. government capable of creating al-Qaeda? Do you think this was the case? Do you think elements of the U.S. government capable of creating ISIS? Do you think this was the case? Who assassinated Jean Senac? Where did this happen? Who was Jean Senac? Where was Soha Bishara imprisoned? Why was she imprisoned? Who is she? Who kidnapped Mordecai Vanunu? Where did this happen? Who is Mordecai Vanunu? Where was he born? Why do race and gender now seem so high on the U.S. agenda? What does an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth actually mean? What is the origin of this formula? What are we talking about? Who invented the Axion dark matter experiment? What is a heavy, sterile neutrino? Why doesn't the Confederacy die? Who backs it? Why is it getting away with so much this late in the game? Who are the big brokers for the Confederacy? Why is there so much focus on Russia? Is this a red herring? Why won't Palestine and Israel ever heal? In whose interest is this apartheid? What does the caliphate want? What is the role of the Protestant church in USA policies? Why are so many politicians religiously identified? Do you think Barack Obama was allowed to get arrested? Does one see fear in former Attorney General Jeff Sessions' eyes and that aggrandizing sick smile, which is a predatory gesture of the face, jaw, mouth related to atavism? I did not declare it so, he said in answer to a question by Representative Karen Bass of the Black Caucus about Black Lives Matter. Did you see this? What is the modus operandi of Jeff Sessions of Alabama? ICE, whose ads resemble ISIS ads, e.g., we're coming for you, we are coming to kill you. Who designs these ads? Why do we borrow this strategy from our perceived enemy? What is poetry struggle in this culture? What is the BIE movement? Why are there no public intellectuals in the USA? Are poets susceptible to media control? Where is the spirit of 60s rebellion? What will it take? Why aren't we continuing to have daily protests in this country around white supremacy? What is the U.S. karma with North Korea? How many people died in the Korean War, both North and South? What was America's role in the war with Korea? Who knows anyone who served in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam? Who was Judah Benjamin? Where does your water come from? Who holds power to the secret codes other than the U.S. president? What is the battle between the law enforcement agencies? What is a skiamaki? What are the Bilderberg meetings? What is your personal 100-year plan? Who are the Move 9? What does it mean to you to be a citizen? What was Einstein right about? Who is Jigme Gyatso? What does skillful means mean to you? What is gravitational energy? And how is it moving? What is the origin of the term Capitalocene? Is anyone here working with We're Still In movements? What is the warmest year on record? How many immigrants are in the US detention centers on any given day? What are plutonium pits? What are jellyfish babies? So inspired by some of Alan's questions. Okay, Stephen Taylor. So Stephen worked, as most of you know, with Alan, traveling all over, accompanying him, helping him compose his songs, singing and performing with him, doing a lot of benefits and legwork many years. And I want to dedicate this also to, I don't know what it is now, the 47th Summer of Naropa, which program Alan with Diane DePrima in 1974. And our theme this year is Against Atrocity.
Hello. Born in this world, you got to suffer. Everything changes. You've got no soul. You've got no soul. Try to be gay. Ignorant, happy. You get the blues. You eat jelly roll. You eat jelly roll. There is one way. You take the high road in your big wheel. 8 steps you fly. 8 steps you fly. Look at the view. Right to horizon. Talk to the sky. Act like you talk. Act like you talk. Work like the sun. Shine in your heaven. See what you've done. Come down and walk. Come down and walk. Sit, you sit down. Breathe when you breathe. Lie down, you lie down. Walk when you walk. Walk when you walk. Talk when you talk. Talk when you talk. Cry when you cry. Lie down, you lie down. Die when you die. Die when you die. Look when you hear. Look when you look. Hear what you see. Taste what you taste. Hear. Smell what you smell. Touch what you touch. Think what you think. Let go, let it go slow. Earth, heaven, and hell. Earth, heaven, and hell. Die when you die. Die when you die. Die when you die. Die when you die. Lie down, you lie down. Die when you die. 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 Lie down, you lie down. And you die when you die.
David Henderson is stepping up here. Let's please welcome the mayor of Harlem, the governor of the Lower East Side, and the president of poetry, David Henderson.
Okay, all right. Well, it's always great to celebrate Alan. He was a great guy, and Lord knows how great it would be if he were here to help us in our time of peril, of course. And one of these things deal with oh, so you can't hear me? Oh, excuse me, thanks. Deals with the problem that we're having with nuclear waste. And so his poem, Plutonium Ode, that I read over and over again, and will always read over and over again, to me is so profound because it's like a witch's hex and a spell and all kinds of things in here. And I think it's just a wonderful piece of work. And so I'm going to read from it. Only half because there's not enough time. But this is about halfway through and starting in the middle of a stanza. This is called Plutonium Ode. Canker hex on multitudes, learned or illiterate, manufactured specter of human reason, O solidified imago of practitioner in black arts, I dare your reality, I challenge your very being, I publish your cause and effect. I turn the wheel of mind on your 300 tons. Your name enters mankind's ear. I embody your ultimate powers. My oratory advances on your vaunted mystery. This breath dispels your braggart fears. I sing your form at last. Behind your concrete and iron walls, inside your fortress of rubber and translucent silicon shields and filtered cabinets and baths of lathe oil, my voice resounds through robot glove boxes and ignot, cans and echoes and electric vaults, inert of atmosphere. I enter with spirit out loud into your few rod drums, underground on soundless theories and beds of lead. O density, this weightless anthem trumpets translucent through hidden chambers and breaks through iron doors into the infernal room. Over your dreadful vibration, this measured harmony floats audible. These jubilant tones are honey and milk and wine-sweet water, poured on the stone-black floor, whose syllables are barley groats. I scatter on the reactor's core. I call your name with hollow vowels. I psalm your fate, close by my breath, near deathless, ever at your side to spell your destiny. I set this verse prophetic on your mausoleum walls to seal you up eternally with diamond truth, O doomed plutonium. The bar surveys plutonium history from midnight lit with mercury vapor street lamps till in dawn's early light. He contemplates a tranquil politic space out between nations, thought forms, proliferating bureaucratic and horrific armed satanic industries projected sudden with $500 billion strength around the world. Same time, this text is set in Boulder, Colorado, before the front range of Rocky Mountains, 12 miles north of Rocky Flats nuclear facility in the United States of North America, Western Hemisphere of planet Earth, 6 months and 14 days around our solar system, in a spiral galaxy, the local year after dominion of the last god, 1978, completed as yellow haze dawn clouds brighten East Denver City white below blue sky, the transparent rising empty deep and spacious to a morning star high over the balcony. Above some autos sat with wheels to curb downhill from Flatirons, jagged Pine Ridge, sunlit mountain meadows, stopped, sloped to rust red sandstone, cliffs above brick townhouse roofs as sparrows waked, whistling through marine streets, summer green, leaf trees. 3. This ode to you, O poets and orators to come. Father Whitman, as I join your side, you, Congress and American people, you, present mediators, spiritual friends and teachers, you, O master of the diamond arts, take this wheel of syllables in hand, these vowels and consonants to breath's end. Take this inhalation of black poison to your heart. breathe out this blessing from your breast on our creation. Forests, cities, oceans, deserts, rocky flats, and mountains in the 10 directions pacify with exhalation, enrich this plutonium ode to explode this empty thunder through earthen thought worlds, magnetize this hull with hurtless compassion, destroy this mountain of plutonium with ordinary mind and body speech, thus empower this mind guard spirit going out, going beyond me. Wake space, so, Alan. Yeah, man. The cat was like working it out. He worked it out. So in Fukushima, it was 100,000 radioactive gallons of water going to the Pacific every day. So they say don't eat any fish from the Pacific, or no seaweed either. I wouldn't have to tell you that, right?
The historian downtown, and then we'll be back with our music. Here you go.
Well, I want to reiterate what Bob said earlier. I think definitely go see the Barbara Rubin film over at IFC. It was playing for a week. It's been extended a second week. We had a program here about a week ago where Chuck Smith, the filmmaker, was here. And it was interesting in terms of the Royal Albert Hall poetry reading. In fact, Barbara was the one who was the impetus behind organizing it. Dylan had a concert at Royal Albert Hall, and Barbara felt poetry had equal billing. She goes over to London, she arranges it. Unfortunately, I didn't see any notice of that in the film. I remembered Alan, about 11 o'clock in the evening, he would go down, pre-internet days, when the Times truck would come along, they'd throw the bundles off the truck. Alan would be waiting for his Times, his fix of news, go home, cut it up, file it in the archives. Scrap that idea also. In fact, what I'm going to speak about is Walt and Alan. May 31st, 1819, 200 years and 2 days ago, Walt Whitman was born in West Hills, Long Island. June 3rd, 1926, 93 years ago tomorrow, Allen Ginsberg was born in Newark, New Jersey. Whitman became Allen's great personal colossus of American poetry. If you walk out the door, you walk 2 blocks west along Bleecker Street to Broadway, 647 Broadway. There's a deli there. In the basement of the deli was Pfaff's Tavern, 19th century bohemian haunt of New York poets, intelligentsia. Walt went there frequently. I read a description, somebody said, if you want to imagine Pfaff's, think of Warhol's Factory, Studio 54, and the Algonquin, all combined in one. That's 2 blocks west. 2 blocks east on 2nd Street between A and B. Allen lived there 1959 when he wrote Kaddish. In fact, that's the only building where there is a plaque honoring Allen. Unfortunately, the plaque's not facing the street, it's facing sideways for some reason. Allen felt that Whitman's Democratic Vistas was the best statement he'd seen anywhere on what an American poet should be and do. Whitman felt poetry should replace religion. And I know already a number of people have referenced Whitman in poems and other pieces. I'm going to read a piece where Allen speaks about Walt, and it's in Howell. It's the first poem after Howell. It's called The Supermarket in California. What thoughts I have of you tonight, Walt Whitman. For I walk down the side streets, under the trees with a headache, self-conscious, looking at the full moon. In my hungry fatigue and shopping for images, I went into the neon fruit supermarket, dreaming of your enumerations. What peaches and what penumbras,
Whole families shopping at night, aisles full of husbands, wives in the avocados, babies in the tomatoes, and you, Garcia Lorca, what were you doing down by the watermelons? I saw you, Walt Whitman, childless, lonely, old grubber, poking among the meats in the refrigerator and eyeing the grocery boys. I heard you asking questions of each. Who killed the pork chops? What price bananas? Are you my angel? I wandered in and out of the brilliant stacks of cans following you, and followed in my imagination by the store detective. We strode down the open corridors together in our solitary fancy, tasting artichokes, possessing every frozen delicacy, and never passing the cashier. Where are we going, Walt Whitman? The doors close in an hour. Which way does your beard point tonight? I touch your book and dream of our odyssey in the supermarket and feel absurd. Will we walk all night through solitary streets? The trees add shade to shade, lights out in the houses. We'll both be lonely. Will we stroll dreaming of the lost America, of love past blue automobiles and driveways, home to our silent cottage? Ah, dear father, graybeard, lonely old courage teacher, what America did you have when Sharon quit poling his ferry, and you got out on a smoking bank and stood watching the boat disappear on the black waters of Leith? And then, just to close, Alan was on the Rolling Thunder tour with Bob Dylan. Alan, when Dylan released the Desire album, he asked Alan to write the liner notes. Scorsese has a film that's coming out, I think it's June 12th, about the Rolling Thunder tour. And Alan closes this little liner notes with, staying up all night at the Chelsea Hotel, writing Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands for you. Who would have thought he'd say it, so everybody finally know him? Same soul, crying, vulnerable, caught in a body. We all are. Enough person revealed to make Whitman's whole nation weep. And behind it all, the vast lost space of no God or God, mindful conscious, compassion, lifetime awareness. We're here in America, at last, redeemed. Oh, generation, keep on working. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carrie. Here comes Cargo Skirt. Joanne's got something to say to you. Celebrating Allen Ginsberg and Arthur Russell with the creativity of the Lower East Side.
Right. Someone before mentioned two of Alan's songs. One was Everybody's a Little Bit Homosexual, whether they like it or not. And that's one that I remember playing with him and Arthur at CBGB's, which used to be just around the corner. And another one was Talking CIA Dope Calypso Blues. And I guess it was Bob who was talking about Arthur. No, he was talking about Alan and sexuality. And it's funny because Arthur and I used to argue about that all the time. Or he wasn't gay, whether I was gay or not gay. I thought, I was straight. And he insisted he was gay, and I used to say, no, you're not gay, you're straight. And he said, no, I'm not. So that was what I thought of when I heard about that song. And this is kind of an anthem, again, of Arthur's, but I like the lyric. It's, you can make me feel bad, but I won't change. You can make me feel bad, but I won't change. You can make me feel bad, but I won't change. 'Cause I don't need these things you say I want. I can live in my right mind. There's a place for us in the real world. You can make me feel bad, but I won't change. You can make me feel bad, but I won't change. No, I don't need these things you say I want. I can live in my right mind, and there's a place for us in the real world. Make me feel bad, but I won't change. You can make me feel bad, but I won't change. No, I don't need these things you say I want. I can live in my right mind. There's a place for us in the real world. You can make me feel bad. And we've just been joined by Behind the Shades, Peter Gordon. And we have Peter Zumo, Joyce Bowden, Billy Ficca, Matt Motel. There's a lot of the Lower East Side here, right here.
The electric Bowery lands. Put them Pearl, come on, people.
Thank you, Bob and Al and Alan Ginsberg. You're all great inspirations. So I'm going to do one of mine and one of Alan Ginsberg's, and I was asked by Jane to do one of my downtown Lower East Side type things. So this is called Here Is What You Don't Know. Before your favorite bar closed, there was a village. Before you cried over Benny's burritos or Ken's video, there was a village. Shoemakers, an egg store, a pork store, fruit stands filled with Macintosh apples and coconuts. There was no kale. There was a village. We played our numbers on 11th Street, bought umbrella strollers for our babies on Avenue A. When a toddler tripped on a crack, hands reached out and caught him. Abuelas babysat, elbows on windows. We spent our days in the park because it was hot inside. Our kids ran lapping through the sprinklers. We drank beer through a straw. There was life before the buildings burned. And here is what you don't know. A fire on 10th Street, 4 a.m. I lived on the 5th floor, a little bit banged on my door. She was along with the kids, hers and Diane's. Sometimes they'd both go out and leave me the keys, because single mothers did that back then. But on the night of the fire, a little bit was home. The trumpet player in 2C had nodded out with a cigarette and died in the blazing heat. He was on methadone, always triple digits back then. Worse than dope, but it was legal. Little Bit handed me Santino. We threw blankets over the boys and raced down the stairs. The banisters were in flames. We ran through the fire, kids in our arms, and safely made it to the street. A month later, I threw my furniture over the connected rooftops and moved to the 6th floor, right next door. It felt safer. Our disasters were not far from our norms. Buildings burned to the ground every day, and in most cases, it was not the fault of a jazz musician and his cigarettes and his triple digits. Every day, families disintegrated. Every day, tenements made room for the newcomers who would arrive decades later. Skeletons occupied the streets where we made our homes. We were families. The newer kids like us, we didn't come here to be artists. Artists were people from Scarsdale or West 10th Street. We didn't know why we were here. We didn't know why we were anywhere. No philosophy, no flags to wave. We were already artists, but we didn't know that either. No purpose, no reason, random movements in the moment. Nobody grew up ice skating. Nobody took a dance class. Nobody had a bank account. Our money was in our shoes, same place we always kept it. We made our own language, dead now to all but a few. All but a few, alive in bones, arthritic from too many beatings and cold nights outside. Just a few of us left, speaking in tongues. And here is what you don't know. There was life before the buildings burned. There was the village. Thank you. Also about our city. My Sad Self, to Frank O'Hara, written by Allen Ginsberg. Sometimes when my eyes are red, I go up on top of the RCA building and gaze at my world, Manhattan. My buildings, streets I've done feats in, lofts, beds, cold water flats. On 5th Avenue, below, which I also bear in mind, it's ant cars, little yellow taxis, men walking the sides of specks of wool. Panorama of the bridges, sunrise over a Brooklyn machine, sun go down over New Jersey where I was born, and Patterson where I played with ants. My later loves on 15th Street. My greater loves of Lower East Side, my once fabulous amours in the Bronx, far away. Paths crossing in these hidden streets. My history summed up, my absences and ecstasies in Harlem. Sun shining down on all I own, in one eye blink to the horizon, in my last eternity. Matter is water. Sad. I take the elevator and go down, pondering, and walk on the pavement, staring into all man's plate glass faces, questioning after who loves, and stop, bemused in front of an automobile shop window, standing lost in calm thought, traffic moving up and down Fifth Avenue blocks behind me, waiting for a moment when time to go home and cook supper and listen to the romantic war news on the radio. All movement stops and I walk in the timeless sadness of existence, tenderness flowing through the buildings, my fingertips touching reality's face, my own face streaked with tears in the mirror of some window at dusk where I have no desire for bonbons or to own the dresses or Japanese lampshades of intellection. Confused by the spectacle around me, man struggling up the street with packages, newspapers, ties, beautiful suits toward his desire. Man, woman, streaming over the pavements, red lights clocking hurried watches and movements at the curb. And all these streets leading so crosswise, honking lengthily by avenues, stalked by high buildings or crusted into slums through such halting traffic, screaming cars and engines so painfully to this countryside, this graveyard, this stillness, on deathbed or mountain once seen, never regained or desired in the mind to come, for all Manhattan that I've seen must disappear. And that's New York, October 1958.
I got a quote down from Alan from that from the Holy Communion movie. Do you remember what he said? Yes, I am that worm soul under the hoofs of those demon horses. Come on, I am. Come on out, there he is, the worm soul himself. All right, Pamela Sneed is coming up here. Author of that marvelous cross-genre text that brings the entire universe out through her being. Sweet Dreams are made of Pamela Sneed. Yes, ma'am.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to be here to read in honor of Allen Ginsberg. And I'm going to read my own poem first, and then I'm going to read his. At the end of every Holocaust film that I've seen, and there are not that many, they show real-life survivors, and the lines are, "Never again." And some of us, like me, stare into these films down the long tunnels of history, wondering how it could have ever happened at all, that a leader and his minions could be so toxic, so poisonous, that you would turn against your neighbors, that you could be so oblivious, brainwashed, scared, desperate to be superior or to survive, you'd do anything, almost. They say never again, but it is again. As I look at the deportations, roundups, I'm reminded of Idi Amin when he cast out foreigners, and Forrest Whitaker in the film The Last King of Scotland when he played him. And to see it is again at rallies, at protests, they show the coat hangers, include instruments women were forced to use in back alley abortions. We say never again, but taking away women's choice in Planned Parenthood, it is again. Today started out in an argument with a so-called fan who didn't understand why I mentioned race so much in my new book, Sweet Dreams. And now white man is not the first. A black woman asked me too. I wanted to scream, hello. Haven't you seen the news? Didn't you see what happened to And no one even cares what happens to women, black lesbians, or lesbians of color. There's no public outcry. A student once wrote to me in an academic paper that a parent forced her to stop playing sports because they said sports made her more of a dyke. It murdered my student inside because she was an athlete. Yeah, so the white guy I argued with about my book said he was just giving me some good advice from his experience as an empath. I said, I don't need your advice. I have reasons for talking about race and gender in the interpersonal. He said he was just trying to help me. I'll offer this non sequitur. Winnie Mandela died a few weeks ago. She had a great impact on me. I read she was nobility. But then, of course, the difference between her and saying how Princess Diana was treated. Everyone accepted and loved Diana's silent, passive status. She was allowed to be gorgeous. No one ever associated with her that dirty colonial stain. There are moments in that recent Winnie Mandela doc that stand out to me, where she buried her face in her hands and she screamed out, as I have so many times, I've been betrayed. The other moment was when she said she was the only ANC member brought to TRC and made to testify, and also that Nelson Mandela forgave a nation, but he could never forgive her. And I think what was done to Winnie is also done to other black women and working artists, black women fighting to give language resistance, but it only matters when a celebrity says or does it. At Cape Coast Castle in Ghana, after you pass the door of no return, there's a plaque donated to the castle by the black tribal elders. It reads, "May we never sell ourselves into slavery again." But it is again. Ginsberg. Get it? Get beat up on TV, squirming on the ground for driving irregular. Get bombed in Philadelphia by helicopters with your little babies. Get kicked in the street by Newark police and charged with riot. Get assassinated by a jerk while FBI sleeps with itself. Get shot by a stringer for the CIA and blame it on Fair Play for Cuba Committee. Get bombed or bumped off by an errand boy for Cuban drug pins, friend of the feds and Dallas cops. Get caught paying off Contras with coke money while acting U.S. drug war czar. Get busted for overcharging Iranians on secret warplane sales. Get convicted of lying to Congress about the off-the-shelf dirty wars in Central America. Get $12 billion for a drug bureaucracy and double the number of addicts. Get 1 million people in prison in the land of the free. Get the electric chair and gas chamber for unpopular crimes. Organize citizens for decency through law. Rob your own phony bank, several $billion, get sent to jail. May 1992.
Ed Sanders, coming to the microphone. Stephen Taylor, please welcome Ed Sanders, Stephen Taylor. Happy birthday, Alan.
Yeah, we miss Alan a lot. My wife in Woodstock every few days says how much she misses Alan Ginsberg, his phone calls, his postcards from all over the world. He called us just before he passed away and asked to be remembered to our daughter Deirdre, whom we knew in Welcome in his 70s. So it was
it's such a blow, and he was such a force, as David Henderson mentioned, for good, for proper protest, for nonviolence, for that line, I've got my queer shoulder to the wheel, and all of us have to keep our shoulders to the wheel. And I'd also like to thank Jane Friedman and her marvelous staff here for putting together this Allen Ginsberg salute year after year. And I'm going to read Allen Ginsberg's poem from 1966, Consulting I Ching, Smoking Pot, Listening to the Folks Sing Blake. 1966 was a very busy year for Allen Ginsberg. In January and February, in his new Volkswagen van, with the fancy Uhr tape recorder that Bob Dylan had given him, he took a cross-country tour and recorded the spontaneous Wichita Vortex Sutra. And then on March, Timothy Leary was given a 30-year sentence for pot. And in June, Allen testified before the United States Senate against making LSD illegal, but he lost. July 24th, Frank O'Hara passed away. July 25th, Bob Dylan had his motorcycle accident, and a few days later, Allen visited Dylan, bringing him books by Rimbaud and William Blake. Then on October 12th, Allen sent me a poem he had recently written, Consulting I Ching, Smoking Pot, Listening to the Folks Sing Blake. It was on the first Folks album, William Blake's How Sweet I Roam from Field to Field. And in the letter in October, Allen wrote, I wrote this in San Francisco this last June. First time listened to the Folks record. 20-year tinkle is history of my own Blake, and also the quality of sound of the disc that makes it already a classic memorial, like early Brecht vinyl mahogany. Allen, October 12, 1966. So I'm going to read the poem, and then Steve and I are going to sing How Sweet I Roam from Field to Field. That which pushes upward does not come back. He led me in his garden, tinkle of 20-year phonograph. Death is a-comin' in, and mocks my loss of liberty. What one must see the great man. Fear not, it brings blessing, no harm from the invisible world. Perseverance, realms beyond, stoned in the deserted city, which lies below consciousness. And here's the poem by William Blake, the first poem he ever wrote, about age 12 or 13. How sweet I roam from field to field. How sweet I roam from field to field and taste it all, the summer's pride, till I, the Prince of Love, beheld the wind, the sunny beams did fly.
life. He showed me lilies for my hair and blushing roses for my brow. He led me through his gardens fair, where all his golden pleasures grow. With sweet May dews my wings were wet, and Phoebus fired my vocal range. He caught me in his silken net and shut me in his golden cage. He loves to sit and hear me sing, then laughing sports and plays with me, then stretches out my golden wing and mocks my loss of liberty. Then stretches out my golden wing and mocks my loss of liberty.
I am going to be doing a performance art piece for Homework by Allen Ginsberg. If I were doing my laundry, I'd wash my dirty Iran. I'd throw in my United States and pour on the ivory soap. Scrub up Africa, put all the birds and elephants back in the jungle. I'd wash the Amazon River and clean the oily Carib and Gulf of Mexico. Rub that smog off the North Pole. Wipe up all the pipelines in Alaska. Rub-a-dub-dub for Rocky Flats and Los Alamos. Flush that sparkly cesium out of Love Canal. Rinse down the acid rain over the Parthenon and Sphinx. Drain the sludge out of the Mediterranean basin and make it azure again. Put some bluing back into the sky over the Rhine. Bleach the little clouds so snow turn white as snow. Cleanse the Hudson, Thames, and Neckar. Drain the sludge out of Lake Erie. Then I throw Big Asia in one giant load
and wash out the blood and Agent Orange. Dump the whole mess of Russia and China in the ringer. Squeeze out the tattletale gray of U.S. Central American police state. And put the planet in a dryer and let it sit for 20 minutes or an eon till it came out clean. Thank you.
You guys got one more in you?
So good. So, I am Halix C. Armageddon, and I'm going to be providing a performance art piece of my own poem called Railroad. And for Railroad, I will need your help. It's a tough one for me to perform, so I want to provide some context, just a little bit. Railroad is essentially about losing access to a person, a place, or a thing, something that you love. What I need help with is a chant that's threaded throughout the piece. It's a melody, and the word that I need all of you to focus on saying to help me is railroad. So what I'll do is I'll sing it. I will put my arms out to all of you just in the beginning as I get into it. Once you hear that melody, if you get it and you just want to chime in straight through, that's fine. But the most important thing for me this evening is for you to say railroad. So once we get a good rhythm going, I'm just going to jump straight in. I've been working on a railroad. I've been working on a railroad. So let's do it this way. I'm going to sing it one time complete, and I'm going to have all of you join me. But I love the sound that I'm hearing. I've been working on a railroad. I've been working on a railroad. I've been working on a railroad. 'Cause I've been working on a, I've been working on a, I've been working on a railroad. 'Cause I've been working on a, I've been working on a, I've been working on a railroad. 'Cause I've been working on a, I've been working on a, I've been working on a railroad. Sojourner truth in decibels. I let the pull of life tow me out to the vestibule. I'm at the door of my own house. Ran my fingertips across my lips to touch doubt. I taste blood, see the foyer clearly. I see myself really, reflecting off the mirror's quiet rooms, a kind of eerie. Shadows fanning like avalanches. I feel the weight of past circumstances. I'm necromancing, it's not romantic. I'm on canvas with the past and the future. Hands brace the floor, show my striations and sutures. Naked in my nudeness, vacant and secluded. Scan limbs, breathe in, deconstruct the rubrics. I'm in a pool of red ink, laying in my hubris, but only just enough to shift inertia to some movement, stopping the entombment. Core muscles moving, spine arches forward, feel the pain and all the bruising. 'Cause I've been working on, been working on, I've been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. I know why the caged bird sings, even when its ravaged soul is in the middle of its own Arab spring. Tattered rings of pseudo-growth on tree stumps of hope. I'm soaked in the sweat of my years, the sweat of my ghost, from pillar to post in this mind gym. Shibari rope wrapped around my throat from the tears formed in silence. I shift my shoulder blades, I'm feeling a roving rage. Bones stack, contract like Jenga blocks before they cave. I'm sitting in an open grave. It's subtle. Crack my neck to feel the prisons in my muscles. I escape from Alcatraz. I won't escape the challenge of the blast waves demolished all my parts. I'm now a salvager. Fix my posture. Postulate the meaning. It's raining stardust. I've arrived and yet I'm leaving. Skin glistens. Wounds on my wrist. I've got a gun on my tongue and a blade in my kiss. 'Cause I've been working on, been working on, been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. 'Cause I've been working on, I've been working on, I've been working on a prayer. For life, for life, for life, for life. Thank you.
I think everybody's got a copy that wants one.
Come on, individuals, be unity. All right. So we all start together, right? Yeah. We're going to drop this microphone and let the clouds do it. How about it, Sam? Ready? Okay, are we ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Howl by Allen Ginsberg for Carl Solomon. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night, who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high sat us smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats, floating across the tops of cities, contemplating jazz.
Who bade their brains to heaven under hell, and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated, who passed through universities with gleaming cool eyes, blue stained Arkansas, amongst hours of war, who expelled from the academies for grazing and polishing the sea roads of the windmills of the skull, who cowered in unshaven rooms in underwear, earning their money in waste baskets and listening to every wall.
Got busted in their public careers, returning through the radio with the help of marijuana for New York. We fire and paint hotels with red turpentine and paradise alley, death and purgatory their torsos night after night.
With dreams, with drugs, with waking nightmares, alcohol and talk and endless walls. Incomparable blind streets of shuddering cloud and lightning in the mind, leaping toward poles of Canada and Aspen, illuminating all the motions, world of time between. Echoing silvery the walls, backyard green trees, cemetery lawns, wine running odor of gospel, storefront burrows of the dead, joyride, neon blinking traffic lights, sun and moon, and extreme vibrations in the roaring winter dust of Brooklyn, hashtag rantings and crying like my mind, who shake their battery to holy cross, my memory, until the noise on wheels and children drove around, gathering Say all night, somewhere behind, Victor's loaded out, sat through the stale year afternoon. Listening to the crack of doom on the hydrogen jukebox. Who talk continuously, sending hours from Park to Pads to Bar to Bellevue to Museum to the Brooklyn Bridge.
A lost battalion of platonic conversation was jumping down the stoops, all fired